Hello there, my name is Jason Boswell and welcome to the Technical Awareness webinar for Voltage Fusion 24.3. This is the third release this calendar year of Voltage Fusion. Okay, let's get into the details. Okay, well, we always start this update with an update on the release schedule. It was released from engineering on July the 5th, and anybody who's access to the demo system will see that this system was updated just a couple of days ago on July the 10th. So everything that I'm displaying to you here today, you can see the details in the release notes, and you can actively see and use and practice with these new features on the demo system right now. The dates that I have in red here are the kind of provisional dates. So we always update the demo system first, give you a chance to look at the features, and then we plan the deployments out onto the production deployments. And of course, all production systems go through a change process, and we will notify customers on Proto 2, Proto 1, and the dedicated systems. And the operations teams will send an official notification with these dates. These are the provisional dates, so these may change. So watch out for those official notifications on those. Usually once we do the first production system, we make this available to any of the private cloud deployments. Okay, so let's get into the details of the release. Now I'm going to explain the enhancements and changes in terms of features and functions of the product. But I just thought I'd highlight that there is a number of updates that have been completed on the platform that is in preparation for us to meet IRAP and FedRAMP and the other environments where we need to make sure that we're at a certain application state. So there's some technical updates that have happened in preparation for our IRAP and FedRAMP applications, and these have been done in this release. So watch out for updates on those IRAP and FedRAMP based notifications and those instances going forward. So that is on a separate schedule, but there's a lot of work was done in terms of this release for that. In terms of the enhancements, the key highlights are improving the way workbook approval processing, particularly with policy approvers, occurs. And so I'll get into the detail of that. Improving deduplication in terms of how you work and how you select the data sets for deduplication tasks. Remapping of grammar rules, so when you find false positives, how you deal with those. Enhance the scanning options for certain source types, and improve the agent processing. So both in terms of the reporting and the processing of agent activities. So let's get into the detail of all of these right now. So in terms of improving the workbook processing, and we're really concentrating on this policy approver persona. So, and to do that, we've always had the ability to add static tags to these documents in the process, but we've improved the static tag creation and the application to really help in this policy approval, giving feedback to what documents perhaps do need to be kept or in the in the workbook activity process, and what shouldn't be. So now you can create a static tag as a non-sensitive tag, and you can associate with a non-sensitive reporting group. And you can give it a different color. So you can see I've given it like a green color here. And then you can use that in Analyze, Manage, and view those static tags. So, and you can see the counts for items associated with these non-sensitive tags so you can see them in here, but we don't use those tags in terms of the dashboards for sensitive data. So by making this non-sensitive tags, we can then not disrupt any of our analysis and reporting of sensitive data. But we can use these non-sensitive tags to provide feedback during the process. So I can say, don't keep that document. It needs to be retained for audit purposes. And I can do this on an individual document, and I can see it individually displayed here. Or I can use the manage group functions to perhaps have some searches here and just filter the ones out and then add all or add selected items to this tagging process. So it really helps in terms of the processing of workbooks. Okay. Furthermore, in terms of workbook enhancements, we've improved the way you do duplication. So the duplicates, the redundant of the ROT process. So we've added the deduplication actually and the random sampling task workbook. These were separate tasks that you had to initiate, and there was a different process to them, but we've included them all in the same wizard process now. And when you're going through that wizard process, we've also added the ability that you can select individual data sets. Previously, if you're doing deduplication in a workspace, it will compare them with all of the data sets in the workspace. Now you can do individual workbooks for individual or groups of data sets, and you pick those. Once that's been analyzed, we've also added some more information to show you what percentage of them are duplicates and what percentage are not duplicates across the system here. Okay. Further, we've updated workbook enhancements. Previously, if you were that policy reviewer persona and you needed to remove items from a workbook, you had to reject the process first. You had to reject the workbook. Then if you had the permissions, you could remove items from the workbook. Now you can do that with inside the same step. So you don't have to reject first. So perhaps you might want to, you could remove the items that you selected from the workspace and then you hit approve. So it saves a number of steps and hopefully streamlines that policy approval process. You can remove, say, okay, yeah, I'm happy to delete these 100 documents, but these two remove. So I'll remove those from the workbooks, then hit approve. Also, when you're deleting items from a workbook, there's some options about how to handle those in terms of containers. So it enables you to decide how you want to handle them and how you want to delete the items. Do you want to not delete the containers only, or delete the containers and all files within inside the containers? So these allows you to provide further options about how to do that. Now we've also added the ability to download the error. So if there was a permission error or something, you can get the details of that permission error here directly inside the workbook. We've also improved XECM data processing. So previously you weren't able to add further limits. So we can limit now by modified date and limit by maximum file size. We are working towards the ability to specify certain sublocations in terms of data set. You still have to have one. This host URL determines the primary location, but now you can limit them by date and file size. SharePoint processing has changed a little. SharePoint have introduced a new method of authentication with SharePoint Online Office 365. It's called Entra ID. So now we give you the ability to either use the default method, which is the previous one, the app-only method, or you can use the new method, the Entra ID method. You can see the example of the Entra ID method on the right-hand side here. More details in the help about the exact information you need to capture to generate this information about how to authenticate against SharePoint with the new Entra ID method. Also, we've added the ability to, if you're using Microsoft Purview, and you have protection labels already applied, so they've been manually applied during the creation, we can show that during the analysis in terms of the metadata. Grammar management has improved. Now you can view grammar rules even when the grammar values have not been extracted. So that's with structured data. We always did that with unstructured data, but now it's with structured. We've also improved the way you handle false positives. Previously, if you find that there's a grammar that's not correct, so here we can see that this has identified this as a name, but if we look in terms of the context, it actually is an address. So previously you could say, oh, this is a false positive, this is not a name, but you couldn't remap it to a new grammar. Now you can remap this to an address. Okay, so when you hit the remap, it pops up a separate dialog where you can pick the appropriate grammar and remap that and provide a reason why you're remapping. We'll also update the grammars. As with every release, here's some of the grammars that have been added, but all the grammars are updated and to improve the quality of the grammars with every release. In terms of agent processing, there's been a number of improvements to agent processing. We've been doing in the last 3 to 6 months. There's been some large customers that have been processing some large volume of data, and what we've done is we put some improvements into this release to help manage some of those large volume updates. But to make use of this kind of processing and technology updates that have been done in the agent, of course, you will need to upgrade your agents. Remember, it's just quite a simple process. You go to the agents, the agent clusters, go to the agent downloads area and download, and it'll just be a simple process to just install over the top of your previous agent. It takes minutes to do. And here you can see that I've upgraded my agent. It'll show the latest version 24.3.100. On top of that, Fusion now can generate the Office hash. Now, remember that this is like the essential data hash for SharePoint items that have been. So this is only really required for SharePoint, where SharePoint puts metadata inside the content of the document. So previously, these hashes were not generated unless you did a full scan analysis type scan. Now you can generate this Office hash when you're doing a metadata scan. We also added the ability to do some cancellations. So if it was in progress, you couldn't cancel before. Now the action is cancelled for all the remaining data items. So you can cancel in progress items if you've made a mistake. And also you can clear out any processing tasks that have been failed to complete correctly. We've added further information to the agent activity panel. So we've been improving that over nearer time. So remember, when you're monitoring agent activity, there's a little circle or blue circle on the right hand side. Open that up and there's lots of good information now. Counts of items that have been flagged for deletion. So when you're on your incremental scans, items that have been removed. And then there's also a chart showing the work units that have been processed. Oh. The filter panel has been improved for agent activity to show all the agent statuses. And also on the agent clusters detail panel, the one that I'm showing on the right hand side here, there's some more metrics that have been applied. So these are metrics from the agent to tell you the queue depths and the performance and the rate that we process in data. So I was just doing a small test here. So it wasn't a high rate because I was doing very small volumes. So when you process in larger volumes, you'll see more appropriate rates in here. And there's a view contents button that's on the dataset detail panel now. So you can go, once you've analyzed your data set, you can, on Connect, you can go straight to view the contents. In terms of user group management, we've improved that, particularly about the management of groups. Before, if you wanted to see what users were in a group, you had to go to the users, which wasn't easy to say, oh, which users were in that group. Very difficult to get that list out. So now there's ability, you can see the view users directly from the group. So you can say, oh, well, this user is in that group. All right, I can update to add users to that group much easier. Okay, into other customer requested enhancements, we've removed the conversations group. That was on the, in terms of analyze and manage, you could group the results by conversations, which is only applicable to Exchange and wasn't widely used. So for some simplicity, we've removed that feature. We've added a new permission. Before, if you needed to view the usage of the product, or so this is kind of the license usage, the BAU usage, you had to give them full administration role. Now there's a separate permission just for view usage, so that you can give more people the ability to view the usage without showing them everything else and giving them the ability to administer permissions. Add ability to search for unstructured data that are root documents. So that's so it's much better for handling containers. Added the data volume dashboard is now a bar chart, as you can see on the right hand side here. Much easier to understand what's happening each day. And this one's very useful. We've consolidated the individual components of the help center, so that all of the help were in separate components effectively before. So now it's in a single help center now, so that it's easier to conduct a search across all the help from the one location. And finally, there's a list of the defect fixes, and I usually put the list in here, but we've been concentrating on addressing all anything issues that customers have been having. So there's a bigger list in here for me to put in there in the slide deck here. So go to the release notes, they're part of the documentation, and you'll see the list of your defect fixes. And if you raised a support case, the support number will be there on there too. So that takes us to the end of the update. I hope you found that useful. Thanks very much and see you next time.